Having one of the most interesting guests here, Mrs. Margaret Macaulay, women's and children's rights activist, and also an international jurist, a judge of regional human rights court for 6 years, judge for the Americas, the Court of the Americas. Mrs. Macaulay?
Yes, Mr.
Sierra Leone, is this Spanish or Portuguese?
Portuguese.
Yes, and therefore the country is named because Portugal, a country of Europe, which had escaped from under African rule, because Africans had been ruling Portugal and Spain and southern Europe
Yes,
for 800 years.
Yes.
And when they escaped, they did a tit for tat. Africans had been colonizing them. So when they escaped around the end of the 1400s, the first thing they did was to come to Africa to get some reparations by grabbing Africans and grabbing African land and grabbing Africans and enslaving them.
Yes.
So that is how Portugal, so that's how Sierra Leone get that name, which means lion mountain,
Yes.
Sierra Leone.
Yes.
Now, so after that, the English grabbed
Yes.
that territory, did they?
Yes, they did.
And in all of this grabbing, the Africans are still there living. Some of them, like ourselves, having been grabbed and exported.
Yes.
Some having stayed there. But
Yes.
those who have stayed there now, when they are taking these British Africans and repatriating them and repairing them to Sierra Leone, this is setting up a tension with the people who are already there.
Yes.
Who,
There was that.
yeah, because they are there with the land. The Africans are there with the land, and you are bringing in Africans who have not been there for hundreds of years to share the land. So there's going to be some land tension between the two groups.
Yes. So they passed a law. They passed a law that land in the western area, which is where the colony was,
Yeah.
would be owned by the Creoles. They're the people who settled there, and their descendants are called Creoles.
The people who are resettled there.
Yes.
Creoles.
Called
Okay.
Creoles.
Yes. Yes.
And the indigenous people of Sierra Leone were called provincials.
Provincial. Yes.
Until independence
Yes.
in 1961.
When that was abandoned, those terminals were abandoned.
Well, you find some old people who still use them.
Yes. Yes.
And then you had the social thing as well, that Creoles felt they were indeed better educated
Yes.
at the time.
Yes.
Because unlike the French, the British didn't sort of really open schools all over the country. They opened some schools in the colony.
In the colony.
Yeah,
So
the
in
Creoledom.
yeah, so in the colony you would have had the benefit of schooling.
Yes,
And
very
out
early.
in the rural and hinterland area.
Very early. In fact, we had a university, Frobe College, from 29 or something.
Now, there was a young English woman who inherited some money and who, out of conscience, decided to spend her money to buy back the freedom of Africans who were captured. Lady Maiko.
Yeah.
When the slave trade was abolished, much as the scrap metal trade was abolished temporarily in Jamaica, and therefore there were no Africans to scrap, to buy back out of the scrap heap. It was thought a good idea to set up educational institutions. So micro colleges were to be set up anywhere Africans who were disadvantaged were in the British world. Was there a micro college set up in Sierra Leone?
No, I don't know of one.
But there were micro colleges set up somewhere on the continent. There are a couple of them.
Well, maybe, but I don't. I know of Jamaica, but I do not know of one in Sierra Leone.
Yeah, the one that served.
They had, for instance, the grammar school, which is the oldest school.
Yes, yes.
Then they had Annie Walsh, which was the oldest girls' school.
Yes.
And then they were sort of like Anglican influence. Then you had the St. Joseph's Convent, which was my school, Catholic, and then St. Edward's for the boys, and then other schools, the Methodist school and so on, opened. And in the provinces, it was the churches that opened schools. The first college I know that was open in the provinces was what do you call it? The farming, agriculture.
Yes, yes.
Agriculture.
Agricultural college.
Which indicates the kind of thinking.
Yes.
That went on.
Yes. Your education that is suitable for us is to be agriculturally trained and so on.
Yes. But Furby College did all the arts and the liberal arts and sciences.
Yes.
And they were in conjunction with Durham University.
Durham University.
Yes.
Now tell me something now. The British Africans who were transported from England to Sierra Leone, they would have had English names.
Yes.
And the Maroons who were taken to Nova Scotia and Canada first from Jamaica as punishment, and then from Nova Scotia and Canada to Sierra Leone, they also would have had English names.
Yes.
So that is why a lot of the educated and townspeople in Sierra Leone would have,
in the early years, yes.
in the early years would have names like Macaulay.
Yes.
And Stevens.
And Jones, and
yes.
That's my mother's family.
Yes.
And Johnsons and the whole shebang. When I came to Jamaica, first of all, one of the things that hit me was the names were completely similar.
Yes.
And also the people looked similar.
Yes.
I would drive around or walk around and say, "Oh my goodness, look at John Smith there."
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Now, the English speaking, they would be not only have English names, but they would be English speaking.
Yes.
Because the official language of Sierra Leone by that time would have been English, right?
Well, it was English, and so a patois.
Yes.
Developed.
Yes.
Which is called Creole.
Creole.
K-R-I-O.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, so therefore, when independence came, was it largely the town people who dominated the politics and government of Sierra Leone when independence came?
Well, strangely enough, no. It was a mix, but the first prime minister was of the Mendi tribe.
Yes.
So from the indigenous people.
Yes.
And the second prime minister also was. And in fact, I don't know of any Creole prime minister.
Yes.
No Creole prime minister.
Yes.
And most of the cabinet were from the provinces, and you had a few Creole.
Yes.
Because they're small. The population of Creoledom is small. Compared to the rest of the country.
Yes.
And at that time, you had far more educated persons from the so-called provinces than had been around before.
And
highly educated.
The name of the capital
is Freetown.
Freetown, symbolizing that these were freed people.
Yes, quite.
Freed people.
Yes.
Very symbolic and very important. So when you came to Jamaica here now, all right, we are in Jamaica here now.
Yes.
You get involved in ordinary criminal law or all branches of the law?
All branches of the law.
Yes. And it was in the 70s, a time of ferment in Jamaica when people were exerting exerting newly understood rights.
Yes.
And freedom.
Flexing muscles. Yes.
Yes. And not only that, women's rights and children's rights were being articulated at that time.
Precisely.
Especially by the Michael Manley regime.
Precisely. Yeah. And this is when I came, one of the things that struck me, which led me into that to become an advocate and activist in it, was the fact that I recognized that Jamaican women were extremely talented, extremely articulate, very well educated, lots of them, and yet they didn't know a thing about their rights.
Yes.
So I initially started by going out privately to speak to groups and so on, and this is why I met lots of people in the political field, like the present prime minister from the women's movement.
I was going to come to
the JLP women's group and so on. I would talk I would analyze existing laws and show them why those laws discriminated against women and why they should lobby for change and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And then I joined women's groups as and when they were formed.
Yes. Now, I was going to come to the Prime Minister, but before I was going to come to the wife of the Prime Minister at the time, Beverly Manley.
Yes.
Because she was not only very articulate, but she was also clearly African and proud of it.
Yes.
And demonstrably so. She used to actively demonstrate by wearing her hair natural.
Yes.
By the way she moved and by the links that she made socially.
Yes.
And in her activity and that kind of thing. That was great for
It was.
That was great for the self-esteem of the woman.
It was. Yes.
Now the Prime Minister. It was during the period that she came to prominence, because she was a young person active in the trade union movement, Portia Simpson, active in the trade union movement, and a protege of some of the more established but militant elements of the PNP. Trade unionists like Hopton Caven, lawyer like Tony Spalding.
Yeah, I knew Tony, yeah.
Yes, and eventually she and Dudley Thompson, that group of people.
And Dudley too, good friends.
Eventually she was drafted into local government and became prominent, and by 76, I think it was by 76 or was it 80? I think it's 76 that she became a member of parliament. So she was not only growing in stature, but probably was only outdone in the stature of the women's movement by probably Beverly Manley herself.
Yes, it was very good at that time, and the fact that women were coming into their own, articulating what they expected of life as they lived there.
Yes,
was super.
Yes. Now, we have just a few seconds. I don't know if we should go for a break, but let me mention that the Maroon movement was an exemplar of African resistance in Jamaica, although the same divide and rule that was used in Sierra Leone was used effectively in Jamaica so that the Maroon sentiment wouldn't spread among the population, but rather would become antagonistic to the rest of the population.
Yes, quite.
But in the 1970s, because of the same mood that people like Beverly Manley and Portia Simpson and the rest of them and Louise Bennett had been enhancing, it was found necessary to identify the fact, not the myth, not the legend, but the fact that Nanny of the Maroon was a national hero in life. Yes.
Yes. I used to use Nanny in lots of my talks.
And as we were saying, Nanny was not a legend. The recognition of her was not the recognition of a legend, but of the fact that, different from some of the other Maroon leaders, she stood up differently as a woman and was a heroine because she refused to compromise in some of the ways that some of our brothers compromised. And not only that, she was a representative of the Maroon nation, a nation that was recognized by international treaty. And since that time, their integrity has been eroded. Their sovereignty has been eroded right down to being a little provincial. But in the 70s, as you were speaking, when you came here, you started to get together with Beverly Manley and Portia Simpson. You people put it forward with Miss Louise Bennett that Nanny must be recognized for her superior role of leadership.
Had to be done. And there are more. I think there are more women in Jamaica who could be recognized.
There are more women than men.
Yes.
that can be recognized as.
Yes.
There are. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And I hope we will get to that.
Yes, ma'am. Well, here now.
But could I ask you this, please? If we could have a.
You could have what?
On the Inter-American System of Justice, because Jamaica falls under the Commission's.
What would you like us to have on that?
To talk on the Inter-American System of Justice.
All right. May I ask you one more thing and leave the rest to you? This is really the beginning of a Black History Month thing, because today marks the end of the 4th week of January.
Yes.
And enough of that. We're into Black History, starting with you. And just one thing I ask you. When a lady found herself in problems that she was distraught. And she made her way to the local police station. And she asked them, said, take my baby because I am in two minds whether to kill him or what. And when the police turn her away, and she goes and kill the baby, allegedly kill the baby, and then now the police address that as a crime. Where does the rights of the children and the women come into that?
Well, quite frankly, the police failed in their duty in that instance, in acting in the proper manner to protect the baby, because the woman was asking for the aid. They're there to serve and protect, and they failed. They failed
as
to
the government,
the woman from her insanity, clearly.
But she was sane enough to recognize her insanity, and she made her way to them as an attention seeker. She was an attention seeker. And the government has said nothing about this.
This is it.
They have not even acknowledged that the woman went to the police station. Matter of fact, they are hoping for it to go away.
No, well, these are the sort of things that go to the Inter-American Commission for the commission to examine and have the government, the state, answer to it, and then may have a hearing. And if the state has recognized the court, then the case might ultimately go to the court.
So how can we move this to the international court?
It can go to the Inter-American Commission because Jamaica has not recognized the jurisdiction of the court. So it will go to the commission. The commission is a tribunal, which will examine it.
Who can carry it there? Who can?
Anyone who has an interest in the matter. I know Jamaicans for Justice takes matters.
Yes, but Jamaicans for Justice only takes up matters that are brought to them by family members.
Well, granted, they do that because you do have to have some contact with the victim because the commission will identify who are the victims of the conduct.
May I say this? The woman thought that the police force was a human rights agency.
Oh.
She was mistaken, so she thought it was Jamaicans for Justice she was going to, or a similar thing. But as the Commissioner of Police says, Jamaicans for Justice is antagonistic towards the police. He said that. The police force said that.
They are not.
I think that they are joint, as they're supposed to be a joint agency of human rights with the police force, with the government, with INDECOM, and joint with all of these, contemporary and jointly.
Well, the thing is, one of the things that the court has done consistently in its decisions when we deal with police conduct in the various countries is that we insist that the police have to be properly, comprehensively trained, each police officer, on respecting the human rights and protecting the human rights of each citizen.
So in the situation where Jamaican for Justice has to have some initial contact initiated by a family member, who can move this thing?
Well, the fact of the matter is, in the instance in this case, the family of the mother of the child or the father of the child can ask Jamaicans for Justice to assist because they can do it individually, but they might not have the knowledge to draw up the petition.
Yes, but if we cannot convince the father or somebody else to do it, how we are interfering? What can we do?
Well, maybe go to the courts to find out whether the police are culpable in domestic law.
And if the court in Jamaica that is trying to protect the government and trying to protect the police is not interested in doing this, what do we do?
Oh dear. Then I think we have to do what we can publicly in the media, like you're doing, questioning it, and hope that it will come to the realization of all those who listen that this cannot be permitted to happen, because there is a power in the people and in people's voice.
Yes, there is.
Yes.
Now, you have the case of the two Vanessas. One of them was murdered by the police in the constituency of the Prime Minister. The car in which she was traveling was shot up, a 16-year-old student of Immaculate. Because of being a student of Immaculate, her death drew the sympathy of some people outside of her social class. But it didn't move anything until the day that they were launching the Jeep program as a big publicity stunt of the government. The Prime Minister had to go down into the constituency and visit our family because she dared not launch the Jeep with the fanfare and the vuvuzela without acknowledging the murder of Vanessa. Then now in the end of the year, another Vanessa is in criminal custody illegally because she has committed no offense. She has been handed over to the government of Jamaica by her family to teach her a lesson. Her family has gone to the court and asked the judge to take her and put her in custody, criminal custody. And this is done. While she's in criminal custody, she gets into scrapes with inmates, adults, which she's not supposed to be incarcerated with. And she gets into scrape after scrape. And she's lectured by the head of the institution and sent back to her cell to hang herself.
Yes.
And nothing is proceeding out of this.
No, I can't really talk about this yet because I know that something is happening.
What is the clock ticking is what is happening?
No, the clock is ticking, but remember you have to get all your how shall I put it, your I don't want to use the word weapons, but they are.
Yes, ma'am, they are weapons.
Yes,
but talking about weapon, a lady was in Yalas with her two sisters, and she was teasing somebody about some man and woman affair, and she used some patois, words, which the British have outlawed. The British have outlawed it, just as how they have outlawed buggery. And our people take up the outlawing of it and perpetrate the outlawing of the patois, just like how they perpetrate the outlawing of buggery at the bidding of the British. A policeman in Yalas hears her and drape her up and is dragging her to the station. And while dragging her to the station, he falls down and the crowd laughs at him and he proceeds to shoot the woman in her head and kill her baby. And kill her. Then he shoots another sister and he tries to get the third one, the fourth member of the family tries to kill. In a few seconds, he succeeds in killing two. He injures one and he's going after the fourth one before he is held. You know about this?
Yes, I did read about it. But apart from the personal liability and culpability for his criminal act, I mean, that's so egregious. The state also has responsibility for failing to protect those people.
Yes.
From his act.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is why the inter-American system is really vital for us to use.
Yes.
But not enough people seem to know about it and want to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bunting says that even before the police get the complaint, he gets a complaint and he's addressing every complaint. Is this credible?
I wonder. I wonder though.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Margaret Macaulay. We are out of time. I'm going to invite you back here soon, please.
That would be great.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Margaret Macaulay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Small. And the times I do listen to you, I think your program is great. Your analysis is so great.
I'm trying to behave myself better. And without women, it cannot be done. Thank you very much.
That's good of you to say. Thank you, and all the best for the rest of the year.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.